this is a video about the Hotone Ampero Mini. So a couple of subscribers have commented and asked me to do a video just on how I would set up my amp to my Hotone to work with an effects pedal board. So I'll do a little talk about the pedal board that I'm going to be using. I'll do a little bit of a demo, and we're going to look at how I would set that up to get a nice kind of bassline sound. You can absolutely use a Hotone Ampero Mini to do professional shows. You could use it as a backup for a real rig, or you could use it as your rig, and it'll be fine. The audience won't care. The audience will think it sounds good. You'll probably think it sounds good. So onto the video. So people, this is my effects pedal board for April 2025. It's shrunk. It's got some bits on that I like and some things that I need. So starting with the signal chain, we start with a wah-wah pedal, Vox wah. I quite like it. It's very light compared to my Crybaby. It then goes into a EQ pedal, Boss EQ pedal, absolute staple. I use it. Depending on what I'm using guitar wise will depend on how I'm going to use this. So if you look there, I've got it into make my Telecaster a humbucker sound. Normally it's make my PAF pickup a single coil sound. So, you know, it goes into a Origin Effects Cali 76 stacked edition, which does a little bit of compression, just enough for you to notice it when it's not on, which makes no sense when I say it out loud, but trust me, it's how it should work. It then goes into a Protein. Brown amplification Protein is my absolute go-to. I'm just going to quickly demo this. This is my dirty distortion sound. Okay, so I'll turn it on. I like that. And this is my, listen to this. Just makes everything sound whoppingly huge. The Tube Screamer is there to make things punch through if I need them to. It's not there as a standalone, so I normally use it to add another colour in there. So when you add it to the blues breaker, it sounds cool. To the blue side of this, it sounds cool. When you add it to a big muff, it does the thing where it makes a big muff sound audible and you can cut through a band. And if you add it just on its own, it's got its own kind of breakup thing that's cool. We then go into a delay pedal, the magnetic delay. I did a video on this. I quite like that pedal. I think it's great. And then we're going into the Walrus Fathom. It's the only pedal with a sustain pedal. So check this out. If I make a sound here, this is a little thing that I like, but no one's asked me for, you know. Okay, that's delay. Sorry, reverb. You hold that down, and the note will just keep going. It's pretty cool. No one really wants it, but I do it. Okay, so we're going to have a little look here at the Hotone and have a look at our sounds. I'm just going to start really with amps. So there should be two bits really that are really important here. Now I have got reverb on because I like a bit of reverb, but the really important bit here is your amp and your cab. So your cab needs to be on, and you need to be in the mode that lets your cab come through. So here I've got as my cab this one I've downloaded, but you could use I think you could just get it to assign to whatever cab you want. But yeah, you get a cab that you like. I like this. Let's just, I mean, really, you could go forever with cabs. I like that one. A black vintage 1x12. It's nice and kind of Okay, that's great. Okay, so that'll do. Okay, and I'm using a 57. That refers to what type of microphone would be picking up your guitar signal. So SM57, SM58. That's like a ribbon mic. It's all kinds of different ones. Look, this one's like a big. It's like a large diaphragm condenser sounding mic. This one, the U87, looks just like a Telefunken U87. The U87's a Neumann mic, which are really nice. Really big diaphragm. Normally they're made in pairs as well, so you can kind of combine them for blend line miking techniques and stuff. And that ribbon mic is a classic for like clean sound. Normally a Royer or something. So you can geek out on mics. It's a whole thing. I do it. That's with the mic type off, and that's with the emulation of an SM57. Okay, let's just stop with all the geekiness, and I'll just tell you this. Microphones will have an impact on the sound, just as your cab does. There's a frequency range in which microphones can pick up. Your condenser style microphones, which are sort of later on in that menu, will pick up more of a range of sound. Guitar ranges kind of bottom out around 4 to 6 kind of kilohertz, and then it all becomes just stuff that you could barely hear. My recommendation is with stuff like this, SM57 is a great starting point. It's what most people use. Another mic that I use a lot is a 606 or a 609, but it's proper minutiae. Like, check it out. There's a whole science behind it. You'll find some that you like. You'll find some that you don't. But a good starting point is a 57. It's kind of like the standard. Amps. This is probably more where you're going to make the impact in your sound. So currently the amp is set to black-faced twin. And the black-faced twin is basically a Fender twin from the 60s. And those amps are timeless because they have a scoopy, flatty scoopy, not a lot of mids, clean kind of tone. When you start adding gain to them, this is what the Tube Screamer is good for. It's a nice companion, isn't it? So it breaks it up, but it adds a bit more mid, so it pushes it out in your hearing. With our ears, there's a lot of different arguments, right? Evolution and things like that, selective breeding, whatever. People are more sensitive to mid-range frequencies, as probably as a result of our voices being in a mid-range as well. So we get used to listening to the difference in people's voices, and we get used to hearing the difference in timbre, and as a result we are more sensitive to those things. And then as a result, when it comes to music, obviously we hear the voices, we hear the vocals, we're pulled to that. Guitars are in that similar kind of range. So your guitars are there with the mid and the high. When you're mixing a guitar, they're the kind of frequencies that make all the difference. So if you want to be heard in a solo, so if you're doing a big lead break, I've got a pedal here called a big muff. Now the big muff will scoop out the mids. Alright. If I put my Tube Screamer on, which adds the mids in, suddenly it gets heard. So if this is without it. That's with. It's not adding volume, it's adding frequency range. So Blackface Twin, great, very good for funk. What else is a good platform here? I mean, a lot of these clean amps will be. Okay. I like these at the moment. I'm going through a Vox phase, which I've never really done. It's not got a lot of low end, this one. It's all at top end, isn't it? So you could balance this out on here. There's a tone cut. Which kind of adds a bit more treble. And there's some of these amps have bright switches. So that's without the bright. That's with the bright off. Now if I use pedals for gain, I probably want my bright switch off. And I'll show you why. So here we go. This is my rhythm kind of gain sound. Let me put the bright on. It's too chirpy now. So that's why you've got a bright switch or a bright channel, because you can control that, and that's cool. But when you start using overdrives, that's when brightness can present some problems. And that's why if you look at like if you really delve into amps, some amps have the bright cap removed. It's a modification people do to their amps. There's a capacitor in the amp that adds brightness. They cut it out the circuit. I do like the Vox sound though, I've got to admit. One of my favourite sounds on here, and there are lots. Oh, look at that. There's a Bassman Bright. See here, look, they've identified that the Bassman Bright is a sound. So this is going to be the bright channel of a Bassman. On my Telecaster right now, I think that sounds really good. It's got a real kind of purr to it. So if I add, and it's on the edge of that kind of breakup. That's with the Tube Screamer. That sounds good with brightness, doesn't it? You know, so they're not every amp suffers with too much brightness. That Bassman Bright, that's based on a Fender Bassman amp. I would assume that maybe this is not true, but it's a Bassman with brightness. A bright channel on a bass amp isn't going to be the same as a bright switch on a guitar amp, because the guitars tend to be in a brighter frequency range. Let's have a look here at some of the other good platforms. There's a really nice one, Glacian Clean. That's really warm. I like it. So that's the Glacian. These all there's a guide on the website where you can get the manual, and on the manual it'll tell you what these amps are based on. You can do a bit of research on what each amp does. I've done a video about this in terms of what modelling companies tend to map their amps against when they're modelling amps. But that I tend not to mess around too much with the parameters on this. And this is what I would say is, having owned real amps and modelers, I love it all. That the parameters on the modelers aren't always the same. So don't think that, you know, if you take your Fender, if you've got a Fender amp, you turn the bass to 6 in a room, you turn the bass to 6 in a modeler, it's going to be different. And rooms and being in the room with the stuff is kind of what the experience is. I'm in a room with a modeler, so it might be slightly different to if I'm using an amp. Because at the end of the day, like, this is trying to be a room. This is trying to be a modeler of a situation that's happening in a room, and that's hard to sort of get your head around. But, you know, there we go. There's a bright switch on this, so let's press it. Let's see what happens now. So I can hear some high frequencies have appeared in my monitors. Sounds really good, using pedals as well. It's so clean though. This is with some gain. It's too bright. Let me press the bright switch. That's better. I like that. That's a nice sounding amp. Glacian cream, clean. Alright, so I would go for that. I'm going to show you a couple more. The Tweed Deluxe. Tweed Deluxes, man. What can I say about the Tweed Deluxe? Mid-rangey, little box, lots of magic going on. These amps, one day I'm going to build one. I do use a UAFX Woodrow a lot, and it's the whole experience is just amazing. But so this has got volume, tone, and output as its thing. A Tweed Deluxe will normally have a 1x12. The beauty of modelers is you can stick as many cabinets as you want, so you can run it through a 4x12 and it'll sound pretty cool. This is what I've got. That's pretty girthy sounding, pretty cool. Watch out what happens if I turn the tone up. Alright, that's cool. That's indicative of those amps, so they do add gain with the tone. Oh. It's really cool, it's really responsive. What I would do, I'm just going to try messing with the cabs. So at the moment I've got a funky little 12-inch. Let's try doing something like a super reverb. Trying to get like a 4x12 going on. Because, I mean, the world doesn't need... oh, look at that, a Bassman cab. Let's just try that. a Marshall cab. It does sound, it does give it that Marshall-y vibe now. What we're going to do, I'm just going to quickly show you something where it's something like a Tweed Deluxe. Sounds like it's going to implode, right? Because I've turned up the volume. Just going to mess with the cab, and if I put a if I put it through a Marshall style cab, you can really get a different take on it. So come on, right, UK. Ah, here we go. Right, so UK greenbacks. And that's using a Fender Deluxe. They're just such a great amplifier. And this is what I like about the Hotone and many of the new modelers. They're dynamic. So, there we go. Right. Just going to go back to the amp. Right, so there we have it. You can stick pedals into it. Volume wise, it's on mid for everything, really, in the middle. That way, when you get to a gig, you can turn it up or down, depending on what you need, what the PA want. It works great into a monitor speaker or an FRFR. You know, when people sell you stuff with a name, but it's basically the same thing as what you can get cheaper, but it's not for guitarists, so it's a bit cheaper. So there you go. Please subscribe to the channel, and it would be great if you could do that. If you've got any other requests, please leave a comment. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Do you think these amps sound good, or are they rubbish? I know they're not the same as a real amp. That's why I've still got real amps. But the unfortunate thing is, a lot of venues don't allow those real amps in anymore. So we are using the modelers as our way around it. Until next time, thanks for watching.